likely to define their generation and inspire the next and launching best of young British novelists poll. The list includes Joanna Kavenna and Adam Foulds.
With violence and the chaos of history, I suppose. And it's the first scene in which you meet one of the main characters, who's a young British man who fancies himself as a bit of a Lawrence of Arabia type, an intelligence officer who thinks he can understand and shape events. And we see how close he gets to that ideal during the course of the novel. But this opening section is really just him at home, having completed his training and before his posting, thinking about home, thinking about his own life, thinking about it in terms of a story that he's sort of telling himself, in terms of that a future biographer might see it. And it's really setting up his vision of himself before he goes out into the chaotic world and that vision is challenged.
Just leaving university, which I didn't want to get published. I thought they weren't ready to be published. And then I basically lived abroad because I was trying to save money. So I just went anywhere where I could live and write. And my whole quest was to live somewhere where I had time to write and didn't have to do a job the whole time. So as a result, I lived in anywhere. I mean, I lived in Africa, in America, across Europe, Germany, France. And when you do those things, you think at the time they're a bit incoherent, you don't know why you're doing them, but gradually I got this story together, which became the first travel book. So it came from my own travel, and then I suddenly found out about this ancient Greek myth of the last land in the north, a sort of Arctic Atlantis, or a kind of Shangri-La. And one person had allegedly got there around the time of Alexander the Great, and no one knew where he'd got to, and it might have been lots of places like Norway or Greenland. And I thought I'd go to all the places it could have been, so Scotland, Iceland, Greenland, Norway, remote Arctic islands, and just go to all the places and look for traces and old stories and myths and look to see what the local people thought of this story. And so it was a very long journey, but it was extraordinary to be able to do that. I couldn't really believe I got to do that for so long. Really to accumulate his status, and he's completely idiosyncratic, which I think is brilliant. No, there's no one else writing like him or drawing like him. So I think if he represents a sort of young Indian writer, then I think clearly he knows exactly what you do. You just focus entirely on your own vision of the world and how you're trying to put it across, and you just continue. And I think he started without much of a readership, and now he's got this, I think, burgeoning international readership. But I think always when you start out writing, no one's going to encourage you. It's not like a job where people give you obvious promotions and there's no structure. So I think you just have to forge your own structure, and in a sense that's the joy and peril of it, that it's an uncharted territory really. You're always making it up as you go along. So you can, as long as you sustain that and it's tolerable and even enjoyable, I think then your writing follows.